Hi, today I'm going to try this WD40 powder coating method that I've seen. I'm not sure how this is going to work. I almost think it's a joke, but I've only seen one video that shows how to do this WD40 method. I do have a powder coater that I use, but every now and then it'd be convenient just to be able to do a quick powder coat job in the garage rather than having to drive down to 30 minutes away and then 30 minutes pick it up and coordinating all that. So sometimes it's just quicker just to do it at home, even though powder coating is fast on its own. But I've got all the supplies I need. I've got a cheap $20 toaster oven, can of WD-40. I got some Eastwood powder coating powder. It was like 15 bucks, whatever it is. I've got these brake calipers for my little Cub Cadet tractor, and these got them all sandblasted, ready to go. I did buy the Eastwood silicone plug assortment kit, so I can plug up a couple of the holes at the ends. And now I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna go give it a light coat of WD-40 spray on the parts, and I'll be right back. So I've got the parts coated with a slight light coating of WD-40. So I've got the parts sprayed real light with WD-40. I've got my toaster oven heating. Doesn't show the light's already burned out on it or something, but so I took bought a salt shaker at the dollar store. I'll try to make this a little easier to sprinkle it on, and then I've put some tin foil down underneath it to try to collect it, and then I'll salvage that material again. So we'll just shake it on. It's gonna go on a little heavier, and then just tap it off after. Put this down for a second and I'll get them all coated. And I'm putting the stuff on fairly heavy with the anticipation that I'm just gonna pour all the dust back into powder coating dust or powder back in the jar afterwards. So now I've got them well coated, but they're actually a little too well coated. So I'm just gonna try and tap some of the powder off because it's too thick, obviously. Let's move the parts at the end here, see if I can knock the powder off. So I've got the parts coated. It's a pretty liberal amount of coating on there. And I've got the oven going. I've got it set for 400 degrees, which is what the coating material says, 400 degrees for 20 minutes. So I'll slip it in the oven here and see how well it goes. So those parts came out of the oven. You can see where I tried to touch it up a bit and I put too much powder on some spots. Definitely not as pretty as you get it done with an electrostatic powder application, but these parts will be are for brake calipers that will never be seen again on a lawn tractor. So it's really just about corrosion protection, and it'll be well lubricated. So I'll call it good enough for what it is. I did seem to see that I think I put too much WD-40 on, and so I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna try to mist it much more. See if I get a lighter coating. I think the heavier coating provide too much thickness of oil to prevent the powder from being able to stick and then float off. So I think that if I put a lighter coating of powder on, a lighter coat of oil, the powder will be closer to the metal, so it actually, I think the oil burns off and the powder then begins to melt into it. So we'll give that a try and see how that works. I got these cams for the brakes, and I'm going to wire those up now and then spray them. So I put a much lighter coating of WD40 on this time, and trying to blow it more so hopefully not as quick as oil on it, it's quite as thick of oil on it, but we'll see how well this works this time. I'll try to shake off some of this excess powder so it's not quite as thick an application of, like I said, these parts aren't aesthetic as much, as more of the protection, and they'll be, you can see the trouble getting some on this part here. I could have put something to plug these holes, but I'm just going to ream them with a drill bit after and lubricate with some never sees anyway, so they'll be, the tolerance doesn't matter with the powder coat buildup. It's more about the protection and the fact that I can use them immediately and not have to worry about waiting for them to paint and dry overnight. So I toss them in the oven. So here are all the parts out of the oven and freshly powder coated. It's definitely not as nice of a finish as you would see with an electrostatic gun, but they are coated. There are some spots where it's not quite as thick as I might like. This one here, I managed to miss the end corner of it. And some of these here, again, I missed some spots. It's not quite as easy. Obviously with electrostatic, it kind of pulls itself to the parts, so it gets in all those corners and crevices, which is nice. It definitely won't replace conventional powder coating, but it definitely does the job out in the garage where I want to get some parts coated and don't want to have to make a trip down to drop off parts and want to be able to use them immediately. I'm probably going to just take them and quite honestly I'm just going to take them and spray them down with a coat of Rust-Oleum on the parts that are still missing a little bit and call it good. They definitely will be more protected than they were, and I probably won't ever see them again, but if I do, it'll be nice to know they're not completely rusty. I think the reason that the brakes had to come off was that they were seized up, and I think most of that's going to be cured with a better coating of anti-seize and the pivots and stuff. But surface rust definitely didn't help. So here it is, and if you want to try this, you can try it at home. You know, only like 15 bucks for some powder, and then I got this. Bought the jug for it, and I'll I have all my powders in here, my silicone and my silicone plugs and my salt shakers, so it doesn't really take up a lot of room in the corner of my garage. And cheap toaster oven, which you may have for setting bearings or for doing some other little project, or so it's a cheap investment to get some parts out. And probably will invest in a electrostatic gun at some point, but for now this works. And it's not the best finish, but for 15 bucks I can't complain too much. I mean, I barely used any powder at all, so I mean, I used like maybe $1 worth of powder, if that, 50 cents. So it's pretty cheap coating. Thank you. Thanks for watching, and hopefully encourage you to try something else with yourself in the garage. Bye.